So, what kind of games do you get for the Nintendo 3DS that are created by 3 large Japanese video game companies, famous for fighting games, RPGs, first-person shooters, and strategy games, with a cumulative effort to bring all those characters into a turn-based strategy series with fighting game mechanics known as Project Cross Zone 1 and 2. So we're going to dive in and check these games out. Let's do it. Project Cross Zone was initially released in 2012, with the sequel released in 2015, and it was a cumulative effort between Bandai Namco, Capcom, and Sega that created this game. And yeah, basically this game in a nutshell is 100% fan service. If you do not know the characters nor the plot, you might be very confused and you might be a little bit turned off by this game. But if you know at least 2 or more of the video game franchises that are totally exposed in this game, you will fall in love with it. It is a lot of fun. It is a turn-based strategy game, and it is very repetitive. However, the mechanics and the animation and the skills you learn through the game make it feel fresh every time. And yeah, it is a very long game. The first game lasts 55 hours of gameplay to complete the main story mode. And the sequel, a little bit less, about like 35-40 hours of gameplay. And they have extra modes in it too that the original did not have. And as you can see from the intro here, it is beautiful. It is like 90s anime art style, late 90s I should say. You could tell a lot of love went into this game. I really appreciate how many voice actors and actresses did voiceovers in Japan. Now, even though it doesn't have an English audio, I could still feel that, wow, they put a lot of effort into this. They had to have at least 40 or 50 voice actors and actresses doing this. And that's pretty damn cool, really.
Genesis を使ってみるか。バイオスキャンをかければ何かわかるかもしれん。
So the mechanics are pretty straightforward. It is a turn-based strategy game. So you move on a grid with you and your partner, and you get close to your enemies, and you can choose whether to attack, or if you're being attacked, you could choose to defend or counterattack. And yeah, it's very, very plain and simple. But once you get into the combat, that's where the fun begins. Because when you attack, it brings you to a screen where you could show your characters kicking her ass, and it's freaking great. And the enemies are antagonists of those franchises. Basically, the enemies of this game are relative to the franchise that you're playing. So yeah, you'll have monsters from Resident Evil, robots from Mega Man, you'll have Street Fighter villains, all of that. It is pretty crazy. So when you're attacking, the idea is to get the timing right with your attack. If you get it right and you attack at the last second of them hitting the ground, you could do a critical hit on your enemies, lowering their HP or hit points to a very drastic amount. And it really is important to get that timing down. And when you use the D-pad and the A button or the Y button, it does a different move every time, and it is pretty cool. Well, not every time, you basically have a set amount of moves that you have, but you get the idea. And yeah, the gameplay is really something you have to experience for yourself, and it is very straightforward and not that complicated really. Like, there's not too much depth in the attacking mode you have in this. And yeah, the art style, the little cutscenes, the little character dialogues are so nostalgic. So if you grew up with these games, you'll definitely fall in love with the little cutscenes that they have. Now, another thing worth mentioning with the combat and the strategy or whatever is that you can, if you're close to your ally when you're fighting, that ally will assist you in battle. Also, you'll have a few solo people that you could assign with your teams, and you could assign them with any team in the game, and it's really far out. And yeah, this game is packed. Now, it can be a little bit daunting because of the gameplay being so long and a little bit repetitive. But if you are already predisposed to these characters, you're gonna love it. It is really good shit. And yeah, like I'm really far in the game. I beat it already, so it's good stuff. Like, it's very, very, very fan servicey, and that's a good thing. I mean, yeah, some people complain, oh, it's so long and boring. It's like, no, it isn't. You get to play as your characters, and your favorite characters that kick some serious ass. It's great. Nothing boring about that, right? When it comes to story and plot, this game doesn't have much that is very coherent. In fact, many will be very confused about the storyline, like I was when I first started. And it is very, very silly. It's basically a bunch of your friends getting together and battling bad guys and trying to save the universe, or the multiverse. There's a lot of emphasis on dimensional shifts and portals and wormholes and stuff, where all these characters from different universes come together and band together and stop this evil entity from destroying the universe or whatever. And it's really silly. Like, most of the time the characters are like, oh, where am I? What's going on here? But it's a fun ride, and that's all that matters. And you get to see the personalities, and the character interactions are just so lovable, and that's the reason why you play it. Mike Fahey from Kotaku said it the best. Project Cross Zone is a stupid fun party with all your friends. And that's pretty solid. That's pretty good assessment. And yeah, it's a really funny game. There is a little bit of an extra feature to this game too. When you complete it the first time, you have the option of doing New Game Plus, where you can play through the game again, but at a harder difficulty, but you get to keep all your items that you had equipped. And there's a little Easter egg in Project Cross Zone 2, where if you complete the game the first time and start New Game Plus, you can, in chapter 37 of that, you get to see a hot spring scene with, like, the female characters. So it's a little bit of pervy fan service there. Overall, Project Cross Zone is a very fun game. I recommend it to be played by people that are familiar with the characters in the franchise. For those who don't know any of these characters, you might not have a good time. But if you're a fan like me and you grew up with Mega Man and Street Fighter and Devil May Cry and Yakuza, yeah, it's a fun blast, really. So that's my assessment of Project Cross Zone 1 and 2. I hope you guys enjoyed, and you take care. Peace out.